This segment of the news is brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.
Welcome back. Much of the country has been talking about the Member of Parliament for Pine Ridge, Frederick McAlpine, following his charismatic and no-holds-barred attack on the government and the Prime Minister during debate on the 2021-2022 budget in the House of Assembly on Tuesday. Jerino Saunders has more on Mr. McAlpine's address in this report.
During debate on the 2021-2022 budget on Tuesday, Member of Parliament for Pine Ridge, Frederick McAlpine, scorched the government on its failure to deliver on a long list of campaign promises. Mr. McAlpine accused the government of selling dreams and schemes and being out of touch with the people whom they want to forget the past 4 years of what he is calling poor governance.
They want you to forget how, when they first came to office, they told the illegal Haitians they had to leave 31st of December of that year, and then went to their churches with a cabinet minister as their interpreter, basically saying, don't mind what I say. They want you to forget no 2 terms for prime ministers, no fixed election date, no independent boundary commission, and no anti-corruption commission as promised.
Mr. McAlpine also spoke about controversial issues and labor conflicts the government has had to deal with, including disgruntled nurses, firing and rehiring of junior doctors, teachers, taxi drivers, and farmers, all being ignored, according to the Pine Ridge MP. He then went on to suggest that the Prime Minister and his leadership team has internally torn the governing F&M party apart.
They want you to forget how they destroyed an entire political organization, abandoned its tenets, and then victimized those who remain true to the belief. They want you to forget how he has alienated the financial backers, ignored the founders, belittled the foot soldiers, and embarrassed the supporters. They want you to forget how they disrespected some of the members of parliament in this place. They have assassinated some of their own assassins, people who stood by them and for them. And they did so to those MPs without any remorse.
Holding nothing back and mincing no words, the Pine Ridge MP turned his attention directly to the sitting Prime Minister, who was not present during his contribution. The Pine Ridge MP first criticized the Prime Minister for his unrefined handling of the media and his dismissal of 2 former Prime Ministers who offered to assist in the aftermath of Hurricane Dorian.
They want you to forget how they insulted the former prime ministers of this country when they only wanted to bring their expertise to a natural disaster of which they were both knowledgeable. They want you to forget how they insulted the man who single-handedly was responsible for him, Kalani, being in this place and being prime minister today. You insulted him. I don't think the former prime minister Ingram has many regrets, but if he do, I know it would be you.
Mr. McAlpine says he is not going anywhere and promised to be a thorn in the side of the F&M as long as Dr. Minnis is the leader and prime minister. Jerino Saunders, JCN News.
In our national COVID-19 update, just 3 new cases of infections reported in country for Monday, June 7th. These are the lowest numbers of COVID cases reported in country in recent months. Health officials confirmed 3 out of 84 tests completed. Those 3 cases are here in the capital. The national count now stands at 12,027. All 3 of those new infections are females. There's now 631 active cases in country, 40 of which are hospitalized. 37 are considered moderately ill in hospital, and 3 are in the intensive care unit. 55 cases recovered that day, pushing total recoveries to 11,081. The death toll remains at 232, and a total of 100,177 tests have been completed since March of 2020. Health Minister Renwood Wells says the government is in the process of paying the honorariums to the family members of those healthcare workers who unfortunately lost their lives due to the COVID-19 virus. Last year, the government made a commitment to provide honorariums to healthcare workers who offered their services during the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic in the amount of $5,000 and $100,000 to family members of deceased health workers.
As I would have spoken to in the past, the government made a commitment of some $100,000 to every individual in the healthcare sector who would have died in the course of treating COVID patients. We had 4 individuals who are part of the healthcare system, the government's healthcare system, who succumbed to COVID in the course of their duties. Those 4 individuals, the government is in the process of paying that $400,000 directly to the families who are deserving of it. Their dependents, their legal heir to their estates will receive the $100,000.
The minister also notes that there's an additional $600,000 expected to be paid to some 150 individuals who worked during the first wave of the pandemic. He adds that the government is seeking to do this by the end of this month.
For those who would work directly with COVID during the first wave, we've since had a second wave, and the thinking was that we've had very dedicated, hard-working healthcare workers throughout this entire course. And so all of those who would have worked and have been exposed to COVID in the environment, that the government would seek to give them something. We said it could be up to $5,000, up to, not that it would be $5. And what we have done is we put some $3 million in the new budget to be able to address that issue.
Minister Wells says his ministry has put some $3 million aside in this new budget year to honor the government's commitment. You're watching JCN News. Stay with us.
This segment of the news has been brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.